Okay, well, today was a surprise. We got a letter from the chairman, which is really the only time we hear from Chris Roberts outside of CitizenCon, and it has some really interesting things to point out. We have some small squadron news, but we have some pretty big Star Citizen news, as well as some things to speculate on. As always, you should read this thing on your own. I read it 3 times now, and each time I feel like I find a little bit of something I may have missed. I'm going to take my Cliff Notes out and what I think is the most interesting thing here for you guys. But again, you may find other things that he talks about more interesting. So when you have the time, it's a decent read. Now, we have started out with squadron news here, and it's not that much, as Chris Roberts basically hinted at the fact that he wanted to give us a date at last year's CitizenCon. So I think we can all assume that what we've been assuming is either they will release the game this holiday or they drop a release date for the game this holiday with pre-orders. Probably the latter, right? Then they talk about more substantial and tangible things. Now, tangible, at least if you're an Evocati, which are 4.0 and Star Citizen 1.0. I jumped from Stanton to Pyro and back. It technically worked, and we have a ton of people in the Shard, but they achieved a big milestone here, right? Chris threw it over to Benoit, the CTO of the company, to tell us that they aren't stopping here. They are planning on dedicating entire servers to either a planet or a moon or even a landing zone so we can have proper player counts and be in an MMO environment in this game. In this game, that is a big deal test that they're going to do. This is on the preview channel. This isn't something that's coming in 323 or anything, right? And I think if I could speak for every Star Citizen here, and I think I can in this situation, I hope that these tests go incredibly well, because if it works, Star Citizen's going to feel like an MMO. We're going to see people coming and going from landing zones like we all have wanted to see, and it'll be great, right? Chris then talks about how they want to handle Star Citizen 1.0, which is the commercial release of the MMO once they can look like an MMO, right? The same way as they handled getting Squadron 42 feature complete. And if you don't recall, in 2022, this same Chris Roberts wrote a letter very similar to this, laying out the roadmap of the coming year where PES was first and the replication layer was right behind it. You know, that thing that we're just testing now was right around the corner in December 2022. Hold on to that for a little while we continue here. The guy who led the charge on Squadron 42 was Richard Tyrer, and he has been moved over to do the same thing on Star Citizen, and they laid out a roadmap of what it would look like to finish Star Citizen. They did that internally. We don't get to see that. I feel like I've seen one of these types of roadmaps before. Actually, I feel like we've seen a lot of roadmaps over the years, right? But the thing that sticks out is when he said this, and I quote, "While these teams will still be instrumental in shipping Squadron 42, they will now be focused on bringing all of the existing features over to Star Citizen, as well as working out brand new features like base building and crafting to help round out the 1.0 experience. With every release going forward, the intention is to move ourselves closer to that end goal. So you should expect to see large updates each quarter with many changes to systems that have not been touched for a long time, like economy, insurance, etc., alongside a whole suite of quality of life improvements to things like inventory, missions, mobiGlass, etc., coupled with totally brand new features and content." That's quite a few cool things to update. Now, all of those things are the things that are coming in 323. Can we assume that they are going to be able to deliver 323 levels of content every quarter? Jared just said yesterday, no, or what? Last week, I should say. Jared just said yes last week that, oh, this patch is like no other. This is normally what we would have in 3 patches. But then Richard Tyrer comes here and says, no, this is what we're going to do every quarter. Who are we to believe? I say neither until we actually know what it ends up being like. I think we have to see the entire year. But this game to be a daily driver for a lot of people, I know some of you play daily now, but I mean a wider audience. They need to go miles ahead of where we are now. And not only that, once the systems come into the game, well, they don't exist at all today. We are going to play them. We're going to break them completely over and over and over again and show how not good they are. You know, it's what happens, right? And at some point, the game will be fixed and or balanced in a way that could become the game that Star Citizen always had the potential to be. The thing that they feel will allow them to achieve this is this big restructuring thing they're doing. They even talk about Todd Pappy leaving in the letter if you want to check that out, but I won't really be talking about it here. This has also been the reason they have yet to update the progress tracker, which will help us not know how well any of the features we're interested in are progressing until they're on the cards in the actual roadmap, right? Then Chris adds something sneaky in there. I assume he's talking about Overdrive and the new Xeno threat event, but this potentially sounds like a new mission based reward or another platinum ticket event of some kind because the use of potentially earn an incredibly powerful and unprecedented upgrade if I complete all the missions sounds like something they would also love to sell to us as well, which would diminish the reward entirely. I'll say this: Richard Tyrer told me and Level Cap during our CitizenCon live stream that he hates pay to win, hates it. And if he's being given the reins as much as they're making it seem, this event would be a nice time to start proving that, right? All this sounds great, but these letters are, well, just words on paper or on your monitor. And that's literally why I wanted you to see the 2022 letter. Not because I'm not excited to hear that they're shifting their focus to the game, not just the visuals. I think many of you have seen my videos and they've been more excited or less critical lately because honestly, how can I be critical about doing the things I wish they did in 2015? What I will always be is skeptical about these letters of the chairman. Man talks a really big game, and for the most part, he's kind of made a pretty big game, but never in the timeline that makes sense in the framing of a letter like this. Many of us will forget every single sentence of this letter by the time they reach these goals. Do you know what I think this letter says? Star Citizen is just 2 years away, guys. That's it. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Leave a comment down below on your feelings about the letter, but in general, my feelings are they're talking a lot and they have a really, really big year ahead of them to prove to us that whatever's written in this letter isn't like December 2022. And hopefully that happens, but I'll be excited when it does. I'm not going to be excited reading Chris Roberts again for the 12th year in a row telling me how he's going to do the greatest thing ever and then not do it, right? So hopefully the letter turns out to be different than all the other letters, but in the end, I'm excited about what I see, and I'm sticking to that. So let me know what you guys think about it. Leave a comment down below. Subscribe if you guys are enjoying these new little video updates that I've been doing, and yeah, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.